Hello there, thank you for staying with us and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam on Channels Television. I'm Victor Matthias. Now it's 25 years since the Beijing Declaration was signed by governments of many countries pledging to put in place measures that will ensure the society addresses issues around gender balance, equality, and violence against women and children. To further push for these, a day in the month of March, the 8th to be precise, has been set out to celebrate women globally and further push for the achievement of what was agreed to in Beijing. And that will be our focus on the program today. Plus, we'll look at how technology is helping to change ways in which organizational as well as individual goals can be achieved globally. But before we do all of that, let's first see what made the social media trends in the past week.
The coronavirus remained on the fingertips of many Nigerians as they wondered why the identity of the man responsible for bringing the virus into the country was not disclosed. That talk was also followed by the reports that another Chinese national was quarantined for displaying symptoms of the disease, but he later tested negative, and another has been confirmed positive after coming in contact with the Italian index case. Nigerians couldn't help but hail Israel's late-style bender Adesanya as he defeated Joel Romero to close out the wild UFC 248 card in Las Vegas. With this victory, the last style bender extended his undefeated record to 19-0.
Well, there you go. Those were the trends. But also trending today is the Emir of Kano, and that trend started after his deposition was announced by the Kano state government. But joining us to look at today's topic, we have with us in the studio right here in Lagos, Olamide Oluwadipe. She is the founder of handmaidenofgod.com, an outreach for the church, and also the founder of 100 Naira Market, an e-commerce-enabled walking store where everything is bought and sold at a pegged price of 100 Naira. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. We also have joining us via the virtual reality interface from our Abuja studio, Ebaide Omiunu. She is a legal practitioner with a decade experience in community development, a volunteer at IDP camps around Abuja, and a public speaker currently working as an in-house counsel with the federal government. Ebaide, it's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Of course, you're welcome. We also have joining us via Skype, Esther Barakwe. She is an award-winning climate change advocate and strategic communication specialist with over a decade of experience working on youth and public mobilization. She is also responsible for public mobilization for climate action, which culminated in the first ever United Nations Youth Climate Summit. It's a pleasure to have you on the program, Esther.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to join.
Of course, you're joining us from New York in the United States via Skype. But let me just come to you to kickstart this conversation for us. What can be done to achieve this gender balance and gender equality globally?
I think one of the major things that we need to do currently, the things that are being done are they're curative measures. We're tackling the gender issue based on the injustice towards women that has been perpetrated through the centuries. However, I think we should also look at the preventive measures in terms of from the bedrock of the society, which is the family. I think that once children are being raised, they need to have that understanding of gender equality. Whatever is being done after that, when human beings are already set in their ways, is at best a curative measure. That's what I believe strongly.
So, I mean, what other measures can be put in place? Because, I mean, you said the family is like pretty much like the first base.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, if you go out of the family, you know.
Once you go out of the family, then we'll start talking about the religious organizations. We talk about education as well. When you're in school, when kids go to school, they see tasks being given. They shouldn't give a different kind of task to a girl and give a different kind of task to a boy. They should give them basically the same thing. When they want to write exams, they give them the same questions. They answer the same questions. They are marked with the same, grades and whatnot. So I don't think any other thing apart from that can really sort out the matter until they begin to deal with things foundationally. I think that's going to help going forward.
Indeed. Let's speak to Ebaide. She's right here in front of us using the virtual reality interface. Ebaide, I mean, you have been working with IDPs, of course, around the Federal Capital Territory, and we've always had reports of how violations against some of the female or the girls, IDPs, in all of these places. What measures do you think can be put in place to ensure that we don't have these stories anymore?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think to actually end these violations, making rounds around the IDPs, is for us to actually have a proper regulation in place. We don't have policies that actually regulate these people. For example, I was in the IDP on Saturday, and people just walk in there to teach people. They just walk in there to engage these girls without proper policy or procedure. They just come in, engage these girls. These girls are actually deviated from the main actual thing, and are now being made to actually partake in a different thing. So one of the things one of the discussions I actually had with one of the coordinators of the camp on Saturday was, they should actually ensure they have a proper procedure in place, for these kinds of things. And also, the government should also come in and step in fully and put in place policies, regulations to ensure that these things are done properly. Because the truth is, the more we have infiltrations, people just get the influx of people into the camp, we would have violations. These things would not stop. So adequate policies, proper regulations, and even regulators, would actually curb this menace, I think.
All right, so when you speak of regulations and policies, can you be specific in terms of which you would like to see implemented moving forward?
Okay, for example, we have the Convention of CEDAW, Conventions of Elimination Against Violence Against Women. It's actually an international convention, and if we actually domesticate that fully into our laws and also allow it also being implemented in the camps, for example, let the camps, those in camps, get to be regulated, have officers in the camp right there to ensure that these people, whoever is going to come into the camp to teach these people, actually understand that these are the processes to be followed, and whoever is going to be dealing with these girls directly would also be regulated, would also be inspected. There'll be due diligence, on these persons or group of persons. So having these policies, from CEDAW, borrowing the leaf from other countries and other organizations, borrowing a leaf from them, and also implementing them in these camps, and bringing people, to actually be on ground would actually go a very long way.
All right, very much. Let me quickly get to Esther, who is in New York and is joining us via Skype. Esther, so this happens to be the 10th year that the United Nations actually also launched its Women Wing. And so it means some things have been done, yet it seems more needs to be done to get to that desired goal. In your opinion, what more can be done?
I think, thank you so much for inviting me to the show. And I think we need to acknowledge that some things have been done, but still more has to be done. I think moving forward, we need to see how we can actually, invest in education. Education, I believe, is one of the specific way where we can actually move forward in terms of achieving the gender goals that we have. Especially this year, that's a decade of action for the SDGs. So empowering women to education, especially young women to education, to be one of the right ways of moving forward. I also want to add that I don't think lack of policy is an issue. We have so many policies and actions. The major problem is the implementation of this policy. For example, if you look at our education policy, how does that favor a lot of young girls going to school and staying in school? How does it favor also not just the girls, but also the boys staying in school as well? Because this year is looking at equal for everyone. So for me, we need to really invest a lot in education. Even from my own personal experience, I wouldn't be here without my mother investing in my education.
Yeah, so I mean, can we say there is a country that has even, to say to a significant extent, achieve that gender balance, equality, maybe in workplaces and pay? Is there any country like that in the world?
I mean, they are not. I don't think there's one specific country that have achieved that, but there are countries, especially in sub-Saharan Africa and developing countries, that have improved women participation, at least in the parliamentarian perspective in the parliament. I think that's something we can celebrate as well. Women participation in politics is growing, not so much in Nigeria per se, but actually growing in developing countries as well. And I think now with technology, we can actually improve that. I mean, people are looking and engaging to have their voices heard. And if people are educated, I think that can really be improved. So that's why I'm really believe that education is one of the best ways to do that.
All right.
That improve gender parity in any aspect. Politics.
Okay. We're finding it a little bit hard to get your thoughts. I think internet is pretty much being unresponsive, but hopefully that clears and we'll come back to you. So let me get back to you now. One of the reasons why they say women even haven't gone so far in Nigeria and in the world over is the fact that some people say that women don't support women. Some women actually trample, their fellow women and ensure they don't come up. I mean, how is that possible?
I think it's true because our standards are already high, and we hold ourselves to those standards, and we're not forgiving towards one another. So if you fall short, whether in your career, you fall short in marriage, you fall short in terms of children, I think it's women that are the first to judge you. So I think it's kind of like a perverted cause in the sense of we can flip it. If women can flip it and say, this is our standard, we should meet it, but let's help you meet that standard. Then we can have like a consensus. We can have a collection of energy towards all of us meeting that standard. So, and then also we need to become more forgiving. So I don't think the men as much as unforgiving towards women as women are. So it is true. And I also think it needs to become a trend. And especially here in Nigeria, things trend very quickly, especially on social media. I think once we start seeing more people doing that, then we are forced to do it as well. Nigerians are the fastest and the biggest, for lack of a better word, copycats. We like to quickly copy things that are good. So if we see a woman supporting a woman, if we see other women, especially women leaders, it's the opportunity for influence and being an example. Once we see other powerful women who hold the mic, who own a platform, who are also supporting other women and pulling them up along as they're going higher, then other women that are coming along will copy. They will exemplify the same thing. So I think that's what's most important. We need to see examples of other women who are supporting women. Yeah.
Well, Ebaide, let me quickly ask, are there role models that helps you, to get to where you are, to inspire you, so to speak now, to be where you are? Are there any?
Please, can you come again?
Okay, I'm saying, can you give us like an example of women that have inspired you to get to where you are today?
Oh, yes, greatly. I have countless, even at my workplace, at international levels, national levels. I do have women who have actually inspired me greatly. And actually look up to these women. And I know that, seeing them at that position, and going through the wrongs they had to go through, it means that I too can get there someday. So yes, I do have women who have inspired me greatly. And one of such women is Okonjo-Iweala, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I admire her intelligence, her confidence. It just shows that you have to be educated, you have to be knowledgeable, to actually have some level of confidence, and that inspires me greatly. Also, Amina J. Mohammed, who's actually the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. I like her tenacity towards the United Nations goals, the SDGs. That has greatly inspired me too as a person. Also, Oprah Winfrey. She reiterates hope and faith. When you listen to what she says all the time, her writes-up, you can tell that, she reiterates faith and hope in the common girl. That young girl who started from nowhere and today, is one of the, most famous and most inspirational Black women in the world. That's really inspirational for me. So yeah, I do have them. And in my workplace, I have quite a good number of them. Mrs. Erine Chika Ifeyiwa, who inspires me to be kind at all times, be respectful, give of yourself, be selfless. I have Mrs. Oke Omotunde, who also teaches me that you have to be thorough in everything you do because your work speaks for you. Your work is actually your signature. So yeah, I do have women who inspire me greatly, daily, in my workplace, at the international level, at the national level. And that's to me, that's really all I need, really, to move forward.
All right, you can hold your thoughts for a bit. I'm glad there is that list that inspire you. But we'll take a quick break on Channels Beam, and when we return, of course, we would hear from you what you're doing to give back to the society so that you can pull more women to come up and be where you are and even surpass where you are. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have with us our panelists in the studio right here, Olamide as well as Esther on Skype, and then right here in front of us via the virtual reality interface, we have with us Ebaide from our Abuja studio. But speaking of, the conversation, Esther, let me come back to you now. In terms of giving back to the society, what are you doing to ensure that more women, rise from where they are pretty much to where to achieve the equality. I mean, so the world can achieve the equality and the balance that we're talking about so much right now.
Is that a question to me?
Yes, please.
All right. Yes. All right. Thank you so much. I think as women, we also have to hold ourselves accountable and say how we can give back to the society. For me, I've always believed that giving back to society is one of the best ways that we can move forward as a country. So I've been doing that through my climate action, advocacy, and education that I have been doing for the past 10 years. Most recently, in the past 5 years, I've tried to mobilize young people to take over the leadership of the climate change advocacy after we've, stepped forward a little bit. Like people like Olumide Idowu, for example, Jennifer, a lot of those young people. And I believe that when we mobilize them as we are going older, they'll be able to take over this leadership and also continue to give back and pay it forward. And I'm very proud of what they have achieved. As I moved here to New York, and I'm so proud to look back that they are continuing the work that we started, and they're continuing to mobilize other people, giving their names to something climate, from Esther Climate, Illuminated, and the rest of them. I think we have to keep doing that for our country, because it's only one country we have. Until we give back, I don't think we're able to reach what we want to do. For me particularly, right, I really want to see more women in this conversation for climate.
Okay.
Because the impact is different for men and women as well.
All right, very well then. I hope all of that gets the desired result. But I have to say thank you, Esther Barakwe. You joined us from New York in the United States via Skype. Thanks again for being part of the program today.
So much. Bye-bye.
Yeah, of course. All right. So, I mean, are we likely to see a situation where women, just decide to leave, just shut down the country, leave their duty post, let the men, just show how important they are, come together and just, show us how important they just drop down tools, so to speak. Now, are we likely to see that quickly?
I don't think it's ever going to happen, because I think one of the major focus, one of the duty posts of women is children. So when you say they should shut down their duties, it's like saying shut down on the future, which is the children. And they're never going to do that. If you say shut down on the men, maybe. But even that, I doubt that's going to happen. I think that we just need to continue with our concerted efforts towards creating awareness on how important gender parity is. And like I said, one of the major places to start from in terms of being a preventive measure is from the home, and the men too should support the women in doing so. Even a lot of women too still need to change their mindset in terms of gender parity. When you have a boy or a girl under your care and you want to send them on a certain task and you say, oh, don't do that, that's for girls, or don't do that, that's for boys. No, at the end of the day, if it's for the collective good, it should be done by everybody at the end of the day. So I think that's where we're going to see a lot of action happening. But them dropping their duty post, that's not going to happen.
All right. Well, maybe I was asking for too much. But everybody, let me quickly just ask, in terms of mobilization and, lobbying, is there any plan to visit legislators? Because already there's an arm of in the House of Representatives, there's a group already. So is there any move to, perhaps meet with them and so they can push legislation and policies to ensure that we have gender balance and equality in the society?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that question. I do think that the the National Assembly actually is open to receive, proposals, bills, to actually ensure some of these policies, go through the process of, becoming law. However, I think for us in Nigeria, making laws, we're actually very fantastic at making laws. Our major issue is actually implementing this law. So yes, I can actually, write a bill, on how to regulate, the IDP camps, write a very sound policy on how these things should be done.
Okay.
Get it through the doors of National Assembly. However, the major thing for us should be implementation. So I think we should actually drive more towards, not just enacting the law, not just, putting in place policies and all, but I think our major strength should be geared towards implementing these things. I think because, that is really the major thing for these things to actually work, implementing them, not just having them in place. Like I said, we have CEDAW.
All right.
CEDAW has been around for a long time.
I think that's a good place to hold it. Thank you for, of course, being on the program and speaking with us via the virtual reality interface right here in Lagos from our Abuja studio. Ebaide Omiyinu, legal practitioner. Thanks once again for being on the program. And also have to say thanks as well to you
very much
for being on the program today, of course. But we'll switch gears now and we'll turn our attention to some new developments in the technology space. And we are joined by Olatunji Adedayo. He is vastly experienced in professional and entrepreneurship IT career in Nigeria, UK, and presently in the United States, where he consults for a company as an agile coach and trainer. It's a pleasure to have you on the program, Olatunji.
Thank you very much, Victor. I appreciate your time.
Of course. So quickly, take us through what it means. Because technology is changing a lot of things, and we understand agile is now the new way to go. What does that do, or how do we go about it?
So agile, I'll tell you, is the way to go, just like you rightly said, because it helps in, wide range of spaces. So what I'm trying to say is, be it technology and be in non-technology organizations, agile is that framework, is the mindset that can actually be adopted to be able to transform the organization and become, productive.
So how is that? How do people go about it? Because, we just pretty much are hearing about it, but it's not down here in Nigeria. How do people key into this emerging trend?
So Agile starts with training. The way it starts is basically on learning your existing behavior, which we may consider to be agile patterns, and learning new ones. So it starts first and foremost with training and having the mindset, which actually integrates the agile values and principles.
All right. So just quickly, is there a way people can, because thankfully with technology, again, you can download tutorials or maybe watch YouTube videos. Is there any of those sites that people can go to get this in place?
Absolutely. There is nothing impossible in this day and age. You can actually go online to read a lot about Agile. There are free solutions. There are free materials online which can actually help you to be able to learn quite a number of things. And we also support people like you rightly mentioned. I also provide coaching, in order for people to be able to understand what Agile is and exhibit the behavior.
All right. I have to say thank you for joining us on the program from Texas, also in the United States. An IT trainer, thanks again for joining us on the program. And again, that's the program today. But don't forget to be a part of the conversation. Tweet at us using the hashtags ChannelsBeam, at each for equal, hashtag general equality, as well as hashtag agile, and also tweet at us using at ChannelsTV, at ChannelsBeam, as well as at Victor_MBIDI. Thank you for joining us on the program today. And don't forget, you can find this episode and other episodes on our YouTube channel. That's Channels Web. Thanks. I'm Victor Matthias.